Coming up on Transformation to Expansion.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen in the other realm?
I went to the other side to do this project that my guides wanted me to do, and we were working on this thing, and this demon showed up, and it was like the size of King Kong. It was ridiculous.
You live in a movie. This is so cool.
And then a bunch of angels came, and they were like, "We got this." I'm like, "Thank goodness," because I don't think I can take that on.
The demon, the spirit, the energy, however you want to call it, they're waiting for a certain type of person, right, to show up. It's not, they're not just hopping into any, what do they look for? What are the characteristics that they look for to say, oh, that's an easy target, let me go and hop in?
For instance, if somebody's walking by and say a guy is like, he has anger issues, right, for whatever reason, he's a perfect target for an entity that likes to feed off of anger. There was a woman that I used to work with. She said, "Can you clear my house?" So I walked into her living room and I said, "You have mirrors on your walls in the living room, don't you?" And she said, "Yeah." She goes, we never go in there." And I said, "Okay, that makes sense." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because even though it's not an open portal, it's functioning like a window, and I can see what's on the other side that's been watching you."
Did you always tap into your supernatural abilities, or did you have a moment of like awakening?
No, I mean, like I said, it was something that I've always had, like ever since I was a kid. It was just a part of everyday life for me. I said, because you are a person who prays, and that is your faith, I said, pray for God to take it from you. And so a couple weeks later, she said, "You know what? It happened exactly as you said." Like, all of a sudden I was angry. I didn't understand why. I asked God to take it from me. She goes,
you're saying screens are portals.
Oh yeah. Like there was a woman that I used to work with. She said, "Can you clear my house? Because I can do that remotely. I don't actually have to go there." And so I walked into her living room and I said, "You have mirrors on your walls in the living room, don't you?" And she said, "Yeah." She goes, we never go in there." And I said, "Okay, that makes sense." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because even though it's not an open portal, it's functioning like a window, and I can see what's on the other side that's been watching you. And that's why you guys don't want to spend time in there, because you understand that something's watching you." She goes, "Yeah, that's what it is. We always feel like something's watching us when we're in there. The kids refuse to play in there." And so I went in there, I sealed up the mirrors, and, cleared the rest of the house of whatever else was there. And then the next day she came to work and she goes, "You know what?" She goes, "I did not tell my family that I had you clear the house." And the kids went straight for the living room, and we all stayed in there, and we were there the whole night. And I didn't tell the family what happened.
Wow, that's amazing. Did she get rid of the mirrors?
No, because it was just part of the decoration on the wall. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having mirrors. You just need to seal them. Like, the ones that I really don't like is, when you go into the 7-Eleven or something, and there's those concave mirrors that are like stuck up in the corners so you can see the whole store. Like, those are horrible. They're almost always open. Like, literally, like, energy is pouring from those mirrors, like those round mirrors that are like in the corners, stuck in the corners, so that the cashier can see the whole store. Yeah, those, because a lot of those places have people that show up with like not so good intentions, right? Like drug dealers and all kinds of other shady characters and stuff. And so that energy stays in the store or on the property and can open up one of those things as a portal. So yeah, so almost every single one that I've seen of those little round mirrors inside a convenience store is an open portal.
They even have them in the streets too for the cars.
Yeah, so every once in a while, like like the ones with the cars on the streets, those aren't too bad. Those are usually okay. But yeah, inside convenience stores, 9 times out of 10, I go in there and I'm like, "Yep, it's open." Yeah.
Is it because of like it's indoors, so it's trapping the energy?
Yeah, because it's like every object in the store absorbs the energy of the people that come through there. So, if you got a bunch of shady characters that spend a lot of time there, that's the kind of energy that ends up living there. And then, you know, then the mirror can be compromised, so to speak, and turned into a portal that allows things to come through.
Make sure to check out our community discussion all about healing, love, and empowering you to process your emotions right below the video in the comments. It's that easy. I can't wait to talk to you soon. Peace.
Wow. That's crazy. I believe it though. I believe it. That's insane. Even with I studied feng shui for a little bit, but they really say be careful about mirrors. Like they're really even windows, actually. They talk about windows in feng shui, and not to like have your bed so the back of it is like directly below a window. And then no mirrors in the bedroom. Like one of the things you mentioned earlier, the ghost hunting TV shows. I be laughing at them. I think I laugh at them for a different reason though, because literally it's like they see a mouse, like, oh my god, they like freak out for a mouse, and I'm like, this obviously a mouse. Or like the door will creak a little bit, and I'm like, really, it's the wind. Like, so I'll laugh for that reason. But that's crazy that you actually see like, and I'm actually, let me ask you this: every single episode you've watched, is there always a spiritual energy or a haunted energy there? Or sometimes they just kind of.
No, well, it depends. I mean, there's some of the shows that I've watched, they've been to places where the energy, there's not really a spirit there. It's just the energy there is just stagnant and it feels old. There are some places like if it's really active and it's had a lot of attention, then yeah, like they'll point the camera up and I'm like, there's one, there's another one, there's another one.
You have this ability to see the unseen, to see the living, the not living, the spirits. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen? Like in the other realm?
Well, recently the biggest thing that I've seen is bigger things. Because I'm used to seeing angels, and I mean, and they can be like, like Titan size. Some of them are really, really big. But recently I've actually been seeing like demons, entities that large as well. I mean, I went to the other side to do this project that my guides wanted me to do, and like we were working on this thing, and this demon showed up, and it was like the size of King Kong. It was ridiculous. I'm like,
Wow.
I've never seen anything so huge. And then a bunch of angels came and they were like, we got this. I'm like, thank goodness, because I don't think I can take that on. But yeah, so I've just been seeing bigger entities like than I've seen before. And I think just and that's the funny thing. I can't even really pin down like what is the craziest thing, because I've seen so many things, just things that I'm just like, what? Like I've watched entities literally hop from one person to another, as they're just walking by. I've seen, I mean, I was in a grocery store and I looked up on top of the frozen, grocery case or something, and there's a thing sitting on top of there, like waiting to jump down on somebody. I mean, it's just, I see this stuff all the time.
You live in a movie. This is so cool. Okay, so like this is so cool. Um okay, so what enables somebody to allow a demon to take them, to jump into them? Like what is it like? 'Cause the demon, the spirit, the energy, however you want to call it, they're waiting for a certain type of person, right, to show up. It's not, they're not just hopping into any. What do they look for? What are the characteristics that they look for to say, oh, that's an easy target, let me go and hop in?
Well, each entity is different because they feed off of different things. So some of them feed off of anger, some of them feed off of fear, some of them feed off of anxiety, some of them feed off of like different types of emotions. And so, for instance, if somebody's walking by and say a guy is like, he has anger issues, right? For whatever reason, he's a perfect target for an entity that likes to feed off of anger. So it chooses him. And then what it does is it gets him or encourages him towards situations or things that cause him to become more angry. And it's the same thing is true, like if he runs into a woman who's like super high anxiety and they feed off anxiety, they will drive her towards situations and people and things that cause more anxiety.
Yep.
And so, and that's really how it works. It's almost like, they might be attached to someone and be like, oh wait, but that one's more anxious, let's go over there. Or that one's more worried, I like that one better. And that's how I've seen them jump. So it's not necessarily, I mean, people say like, well, you attracted it. Well, not intentionally. There was no intention to do that. It's just because of the way we move through the world with fear or anxiety, or some, if you're a person who's driven towards like hatred, there's a demon that will drive you towards things that you hate in order to feed off of that. So it just depends. So it's not that we intentionally attract things to us, it's because of the fact that we don't handle our stuff, and that makes it easy for them to attach to us. But the thing to remember is that it's not necessarily a permanent thing. It doesn't have to be a permanent thing. It's like once you kind of understand what's happening, because I tell people like, well, I was fine, and all of a sudden I was angry for no reason. And I was like, why do you think that is? And they say, oh, so that's what you mean by I have something attached to me. I said, yeah. Like, for instance, I had this friend who I worked with, and she was very, very religious. But she was also very open-minded. So we were able to have this conversation. And I said, yeah, it's like people can get things attached to them very quickly and not realize why. And it could just be because you're angry in the moment that you get something. It's not that you're an angry person or anything like that. You could just be like really angry right at that moment, but it's enough to trigger something to attach to you. But that doesn't mean it's yours. And so I said, if you feel like all of a sudden you have this like overblown emotion and you don't know where it came from, I said, because you are a person who prays and that is your faith, I said, pray for God to take it from you and then just see what happens. And she said, okay. And so a couple weeks later, she said, you know what? It happened exactly as you said. Like all of a sudden I was angry. I didn't understand why. I asked God to take it from me. She goes, and I felt it lift off of me. And I said, so you understand now that what I do and what you do, like the whole prayer thing and sending energy, is basically the same thing by a different name. And she was like, okay, I get it.
Have you ever felt like you're meant for more? You're here for a reason. Something inside of you knows that there's more. There's more purpose. There's more connection. There's more fulfillment. There's more love to be enjoyed in this life. What if all of that was here right now? Your life easier to navigate, your dreams easier to manifest. You can live in a life of ease, even in these uncertain times with Pluto being in Aquarius. Your community of expansion is right here at your fingertips. From the moment you enter, you feel the sense of release and comfort. No more wondering if all those downloads you got as a kid were just random thoughts. No more wondering that time you had telepathy, thinking that it was just a fluke. Be with the people you know are here for you. Join our ever-expanding community on Patreon for free. And for those of you who ask, yes, the Wellness Library is included. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Peace.
Yeah, I always say, and I think I'm pretty sure I got this from Dr. Michael B. Beckwith, but yeah, I think he said this, but now I'm going with it. He says that religion is just a language. It's just many different ways of connecting to God, to the Creator. It's it. It's just different ways of doing the same thing. I really do believe that. It's all that religion is. Yeah, there's some religions that are no, I don't want to say that the whole religion is corrupt, but there are many corrupt people within these religious systems that abuse them. That's how I'm going to put it. But that's so interesting. So I know a lot of us, we've definitely visited houses or stayed with people where you could feel the energy is different in that house, right? You might even feel stuff that you're like, I didn't feel this before. What is this? What is going on? What is going on with that house? Is there an entity there? And if there is an entity there that's just hopping between people, like what if there's like 4 or 5 people living in the house, right? And it's like the anxiety thing. Well, anyway, let me put it like this. My question is it an entity or is it the people and their emotions? And if it is an entity, how does somebody release it? Like, especially if you have multiple people in the house. Let's give the anxiety example. Is great, actually. Maybe I go into this house. I never experienced anxiety before. I go into the house and I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling all this anxiety. What is going on? I could clear my space, right? But if everybody else who's living in that house, if they don't clear that energy and they keep on attracting that energy, how would I protect myself? Does that make sense? This is not a good question. But do you understand what I'm saying though?
Have you ever felt like you're meant for more? You're here for a reason. Something inside of you knows that there's more. There's more purpose. There's more connection. There's more fulfillment. There's more love to be enjoyed in this life. What if all of that was here right now? Your life easier to navigate, your dreams easier to manifest. You can live in a life of ease, even in these uncertain times with Pluto being in Aquarius. Your community of expansion is right here at your fingertips. From the moment you enter, you feel the sense of release and comfort. No more wondering if all those downloads you got as a kid were just random thoughts. No more wondering that time you had telepathy, thinking that it was just a fluke. Be with the people you know are here for you. Join our ever-expanding community on Patreon for free. And for those of you who ask, yes, the Wellness Library is included. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Peace.
No, that makes perfect sense to me because I've run across that before. Like, for instance, I had a student whose daughter was living with a bunch of roommates. And some of the roommates were, they were rowdy kids and they were doing all kinds of stuff. But the daughter was like, I just need my room to be quiet and safe. And I want the energy stable in my room because this is where I study. This is where I'm trying to sleep. I'm not trying to have all this chaos in my own room. And so I taught her I cleared her room for her. And then my technique is you clear the space and then you call in good energy afterwards so that the space is filled with good energy so there's no room for anything else. Right? And then you do that just for the space that is yours if you're in a roommate situation. I mean, the rest of the house, you can't really do anything about that because it's public space and people have a right to whatever their energy is. So the common areas, you just got to deal. Your own personal space, you can have it completely cleared of things. In general, though, if you have a house that's full of stuff, what happens is it just gets worse. Because if you have like one entity, and what happens is you normally get more because they're like, hey, guys, come over. And so, you can have more than one or two in a house. And there's several factors. So, like if I'm going to go and clear a house, one of the things I look for is is there any entities in the house? Then I look for open portals. Then I look for stagnant energy. Sometimes there is, because the energy that's problematic, I guess you could say, could be in the land, it could be in the building, it could be in the people, it could be something that was brought into the house, it could be any one of those things. So sometimes it's not a simple, well, if you keep that guy out of here, we don't have any issues. Sometimes it's not that simple. The other thing is that, it wasn't that long ago that I ran into a family where there was just one entity, but it literally hopped from member to member of the family. And so they would be like, well, things are good for me, but things are crappy for him right now. And then last week it was me and not him because it was literally jumping from person to person. So it depends. Like every house is different. Every situation is different. I had one client where I told her, you got to move, because there were so many entities on the property. It was ridiculous. Because I told her, I said, you know what, at this point, I don't even know if I can help you. I think you just need to call a priest and have the whole place just blessed. And she told me, the priest has already been here.
Oh
And so I
man,
said,
they put on fire.
yeah. So I said, okay, well, the best I can do for you is maybe give you about 2 weeks of time before stuff starts coming back. Um, so yeah, but it ended up they ended up leaving the property, but I was like, this is bad.
Make sure to check out our community discussion all about healing, love, and empowering you to process your emotions right below the video in the comments. It's that easy. I can't wait to talk to you soon. Peace.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Oh, that's so insane. I mean, I'm glad they're able to move the property. But it's interesting. And real quick, so if there's a whole house situation, do you have to go into every single room and clear out the space in every single room? Or do you like go out to the entrance and be like, this house is blessed? I don't know. How do you do that?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go to the house, then yeah, you should go room to room. And for people who do this sort of thing, like, please start from the inside out, not the outside in. Because what happens is you end up trapping stuff inside.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So for me, what I do is, because I do everything remotely and I do it with energy, the first thing I do is I put an energy shield around the entire property, and that traps everything inside. Because I don't want it to leave. Because what happens is, and this is the common thing that happens with house clearings, is you bless the house, but you don't actually send the energy and the entities back to source. What happens is you chase it out of the house, it moves next door until the good energy is all used up on the property, and then they come back. So what I do is I trap everything in, and the way I do a shield is I go below the property and above the property and right
Mm-hmm.
to the edges of the property line. So then that way, if there's anything under the ground, like, God forbid, a dead body that has been hidden there, that might be a restless spirit that's causing the issue. So I will, if there's any spirits that needed to be settled, I do that. I check, like I said, enclose everything in. I check for portals. I check the mirrors. I check for just free floating open portals anywhere on the property, because portals can be anywhere. I check for entities, and then I would just pull all that energy out, send it to source, pull good energy in, and then I'll go through and I will seal all the mirrors. I will seal all the electronics. I will go through and just like do a quick remote view of like cabinets, closets. Closets are notorious for having stuff, so I will double check those. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then, yeah. And then what I'll do is I'll leave up a shield on the property that will stay with the family and the property until they don't need it anymore.
Now I was just always curious about that because I'll clear spaces like my bedroom or like I had to clear my bathroom yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week. Um, but yeah, but I never knew that you had to send the entity to source, which yeah, I just opened the window and I sage. Or I used mugwort. Have you ever used mugwort before?
I actually don't. Yeah, I normally don't burn things because I have asthma, so which is why I do everything with energy. It's just much easier for me. But yeah, I mean, if it works, because it's really about the intention. And so,
Mm.
like I've told people, like it's a tool that you can use, and you can use different kinds of tools. Like for some people, it's like you can use drums, you can clap your hands, you can use bells. That's an old Chinese one, like using bells and chimes and things like that. Just use whatever you have. So if you have like sage or mugwort or whatever it is, use it. It's about the intention. I mean, my mom used to bless our house with Hawaiian salt and water.
Yeah, I've heard people use salt also a lot. Salt is super powerful. Or just get ocean water, salt water. There you go. You have both. Two in one.
Now I was going to say about salt, like be really careful with that because it is super super powerful, and people tend to do this thing. Well, that goes with the like start from the inside out. People will sometimes put salt on the perimeter and then bless the house. I'm like, no, that means you've chopped something in there, and because you put the salt barrier, you're probably going to piss it off
Mm.
and make whatever activity you're having even worse. So if you need to put the salt on the perimeter, clear the house first, then put the salt on the outside.
Thank you. That's yeah. This is interesting. It's stuff I just did not think about. But I'm just one of those people who, no matter where I've traveled a lot, but and I found my own little ways of efficiently clearing a space. But one thing that I took me a long time to really work through was clearing a space, because I was one of those people. Even as a kid, I would get nightmares a lot. Um, Even in college, there would be certain energies that I just didn't want in my space. And so I would use sage. And then at some point, the sage wasn't working, so I moved to something a little bit stronger. And I found that every country actually has an equivalent to sage. I feel like sage is really appropriate to use here in the Americas, or at least in North America. And then copal is something that, South America uses. And I think mugwort is more of the, like, I know a lot of my, there's so many ways to do it, but there was just, I think one of the biggest mistakes I think a lot of people make, myself included, this is like the mistake that I made, was the intention, and then actually believing it would work. There were some things that I tried, I didn't believe it would work, so it didn't work, right? It's like, that's a big part of it too. You have to do something that you believe will work. Okay, you truly believe in your heart, right?
Well, and it's also about that you are using it as a tool because you are claiming back this space. I mean, really, that's the intention. It's like, this is my space and you can get out,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm using this tool I mean, it's like enhancing your intention. So it's not necessarily, I don't view it as you believe in whatever tool you're using. It's like the tool is enhancing my intention. So my intention is to clear this space and claim it as mine. And this tool
Mm-hmm.
that I'm using is helping me, like boosting the power of that intention, is how I look at it.
It makes, yeah, it's reclaiming your space, which is so funny, because I think I've never thought about that, to be honest, until you said it. But that is what you're doing, right? You're reclaiming the space for you. And one thing I do also want to say real quick, we've had this whole conversation about demons and spirits and stuff like that. Your energy is really powerful, because I haven't had any chills. I haven't had any, like, no fear has come up in the entirety of this conversation. And like I said, I'm chicken. So so just thank you for that. Thank you for your energy, for your protective energy. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised too, because it's like, yeah, if I sometimes I will talk to, or I have talked to other guests, and we talk about the stuff, and I'm like, okay, let's move on to the next one. But I feel very safe around you. Um
That's it for part 2. I'll see y'all in part 3.